You have now entered a community of impact engineers. Welcome to the BSL Speaks podcast with your host, Brian St. Louis. Here, we forge the path of leadership by empowering young voices and nurturing the wisdom of seasoned pioneers. Join us as we bridge the gap between generations, blending the fresh perspectives of emerging leaders with the tried and true insights of those who've paved the way. Ready to embrace radical empathy and unlock the boundless potential in our youth? This platform is committed to empowering young visionaries and refining our leadership in homes, communities, schools, and workplaces. Our journey is about more than just personal growth. This is about elevating humanity, one inspired leader at a time. What's going on, everyone? I'm your host, Brian St. Louis, BSO, with our Youth Empowerment Strategies podcast. And with us today, we have Willie Spears. We have Coach, and he is such a powerful individual. He may not know this, but I've been watching him for over a year and have been completely mesmerized by the work that he's doing within our communities, within youth development and empowerment. And he has been inspiring me to continue to do great work as well. But with Mr. Willie Spears, our guest today, has been 20 years in education, has been an administrator, teacher, and coach. He has written over 17 books and delivers 30 keynote speeches every single month to Fortune 500 companies like State Farm and major colleges like Florida State University. He has a bachelor's degree in communications and a master's in education. Please help me welcome award-winning educator Willie Spears. Willie, thank you so much for coming on to the BSL Speaks podcast.
Hey, man, I'm honored to be here, man. It's an honor to join you. I often say we're on the same team. So you and I both in different parts of the country are trying to do everything we can to empower young people. So it's an honor for me to be on the podcast. Thank you for having me.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Willie. It really means a lot. And just seeing the work that you're doing right now, and we're going to be talking a lot about that throughout this episode. But every time I see one of your videos, every single time I see one of your posts, I'm like, I say to myself, man, I aspire to be like this. I aspire to be impacting so many people the way that you do. And so continue the great work, man, because you're an inspiration to so many people. I really love the things that you're doing.
That's very nice of you, man. It's all God. You know, I mean, I know that sounds simple. I know that's cliche, but it really is. This was never my path. It was my path to impact lives, but not in this way. I really thought I would only do that as a coach. And what I learned as a speaker, it's different amount of people you can impact. So as a coach, I was able to impact a small group of people a lot. As a speaker, I can impact a lot of people a little. And so the goal is to go into these different areas and kind of light a fire. And hopefully the adults in that area would keep this fire going and those young people get excited. The greatest feeling is when a young person comes up to me and say, and this happened twice last week, you know, I needed that. That was exactly what I needed. I haven't been working as hard as I can. I haven't been doing what I was supposed to do. A lot of young people come up and say, good job. I love your speech. That was awesome. But these two individuals, we spent time together and they said, that's what I needed. I needed a kick in the fanny. I needed a push. When I was a young guy, Brian, my dad would take me to the park. He would push me on the swing. We went to Oakland Terrace Park every Sunday after church, and we wore these Eye of the Tiger shirts, and my dad would push me on the swing. And I would always say, Dad, push me higher. Dad, push me higher. And so the more my dad pushed me, the harder he pushed me, the higher I went. And so I believe all of us need a little push. If we can get somebody to push us, we can go higher in life. And so it's an honor for me to be able to go around the country just giving people a little push.
I love that. I love that aspect. I love the way you even brought that in. Just give people a little bit of a push, man, because we sometimes think that, you know, that's gonna possibly hold them back, or it might be a little bit too rough on them, or whatever the case may be. But that push is necessary, and I think that is key, especially when it comes to disciplining ourselves on a daily basis. Let me ask you a question, though. Do you think, and let me know if this is correct or not, but when you were a young man, or young boy, was your father that influential person in your life that also pushed you, not just on the swing, pushed you in multiple areas of your life as well?
Yeah, man, I had an amazing childhood. My dad was incarcerated before I was born. So before I was born, my dad spent 8 years in prison. Did a 6-year bid, got out for a few months, and then went back and did 2 more years. Ended up getting locked up for armed robbery after a violation of probation. And my mother was in and out of county jail. And so they lived this wayward life for a long time. And then when I was born, it's as if they decided, I don't want to live like that in front of my son. I want to change. So think about these guys. I'm talking about smoking, drinking, cussing, whoremongering, whatever you stealing, guns, drugs. Like that was my parents' daily life. Wow. And then I'm born and instantly they changed.
They just changed.
Instantly. They decided, both of them, we do not want our child to grow up in this environment. So I never seen that, B. I never heard my dad use profanity, ever. My dad's 73 years old. He'll be 74 this year. Nowhere near a perfect man, but I've never heard him use profanity, ever. And because of that, my children have never heard me use profanity.
That's right.
So my dad, we were always in church. I'm talking about too much. I hate to say that. We was in church too much. Monday night Bible.
That's real. I remember that.
Bible band, Wednesday period of class, Thursday sunshine band, Friday choir practice, Sunday youth service, Saturday. It was just too much. And so, but he didn't want me to turn out like him. And he believed that church and God was the way to avoid those pitfalls. And so to answer your question, my dad was an amazing, no one's perfect, but I believe my dad was as close to perfect could be as far as showing me what a man's supposed to be. So my dad had tremendous work ethic. Always worked 2 or 3 jobs.
That's amazing.
Always. Man, I was up at 8 o'clock in the morning. At 6 o'clock in the morning as an 8-year-old throwing newspapers. I was 6 o'clock in the morning in a truck with my dad. My dad, and Sunday papers were so big I couldn't roll them up. Yep. Rubber bands would pop. I would start crying. My dad would say, "Shut your mouth, boy. Shut your mouth and roll." I mean, they were like, "This is child abuse. You cannot do this to me." And so that was my life. And then we would throw the papers.
Were you getting paid, man?
No. My father complained right now. My father, listen, if you out there listening, my father did not pay me a dime. I want to talk to the HRS people, DCF. Go get him. He live in Panama City, Bayou, Georgia.
That's right.
Avenue.
That's right.
Listen, didn't pay me a dime. But this is what it taught me. Don't let anyone outwork you. And so I'm sure there's a lot better speakers out there than I am. There's people who got better anecdotes, analogies, got better way of connecting with the crowd, maybe even more passion, but no one's going to outwork me. It's impossible. I don't golf. I don't hunt. I don't watch Martin reruns. I'm not watching Seinfeld and Law and Order all day. All I know to do is work and work and work. And my dad taught me that. So I was just blessed to have a father in my life that pushed me, and it was never good enough. I'm going to tell you this quick story. My dad was my Little League baseball coach. Right? And I made all-stars most years. And I wasn't an amazing athlete, but I worked hard. And I never hit a home run over the fence. So I had hit many in-the-park home runs, but I was just so small. I wasn't a great hitter. And I did it in practice, but I never hit a home run over the fence in a game. So this is my last Little League game. I'm 12 years old, and I'm the pitcher.
I see.
And my goal, I'm going to hit a home run.
That's right.
So every pitch, high, low, I'm swinging. Like I'm hitting out the park. So I got on first base once on a walk, but the other 3 times I struck out. But that game, I pitched a no-hitter. So the league gave me Pizza Hut Player of the Week. So you go to Pizza Hut, you get a personal pan pizza. So I could pitch a no-hitter. So fast forward to the banquet. At the banquet, all the leagues are together at the banquet. All of us are having one big banquet. My dad gets up there, and the league had given me the Golden Glove Award. The league now. So my dad, because he was our head coach, had to present the award to me. So my dad gets on, I didn't know I won the award. My dad gets on the microphone. The Golden Glove Award goes to a young man who could not hit. He was not a good hitter because he would not look at the pitches. He would not take coaching. So I'm thinking to myself, who is he talking about? This is my dad in front of everybody now, in front of the whole league. He says, people confuse the Golden Glove Award with the MVP award. This is not an MVP award. The MVP is most valuable player, which means you play offense and defense. This is a person who's pretty good with their glove. The award goes to, my middle name is David. The award goes to David Spears. Man, my mama went off. She said, why can't you just say Golden Glove, David Spears, give him the award? But he had to let everyone know that I could not hit. So even when I did well, it wasn't good enough. But I needed that. I needed that. And he's the same way today. It hadn't changed. He's the same. He critiques my sermons. He critiques my videos, my speeches.
That's it.
I believe we all need someone in our life to keep us accountable to excellence.
I love that. And thank you so much for sharing all of that, man. I could feel your energy, man. Just everything that you're saying resonates really well too. But I got a question for you with that, because a lot of young people right now, they don't have fathers, especially in certain communities. They don't have those father figures who have pushed them or put them in that place where they even want. And sometimes we have fathers who have a presence in their lives, but they're not necessarily present in their lives, right? And so what do you say to those who are working with youth, or the youth who are listening to this podcast, and say, man, Mr. Willie or Mr. Spears, I don't have your experience having a father in my home. What am I supposed to do? How do I find someone who can help me go through these experiences that you have as well?
Well, I think it's 3 parts. I think that's a great question. The first part is for the child who knows they need someone. I think that's the level of maturity. So I give you a quick example.
That's real.
There's a guy named Jonathan Walker. You can Google him. In my opinion, he's the smartest 20-year-old in the entire country. It's just my opinion. His name is Jonathan Walker. He invented a machine, I believe it's to help handicapped and disabled people who have a problem with their vision and maybe even their hearing. Jonathan Walker. He was on the Today Show. He was on Good Morning America. He was on CBS This Morning. Unbelievable mind. Now, he has a mother and father in his life, and they're very involved in their church. He's an athlete, and he's a genius. He reached out to me, and he said, Coach, I want you to mentor me. Now, this guy's already smart. This guy has an amazing father in his life. And this guy says to me, now he goes to Duke University. Brian, I couldn't get into Duke today, let alone back when I was in high school. If I applied to Duke, they would laugh at me. They would send me money to stop sending letters to them. Let's at Duke University doing a dual enrollment at Duke and North Carolina Chapel Hill.
Wow.
It's unbelievable. But he says, could you mentor me? So the first step is for the young man to realize there's someone out there that can help me.
That's real.
Brian, when we get with the right person, it takes us to another level.
That's right. That's right.
People don't talk about this, but we know Michael Jackson was a phenomenal artist, right? He had the Thriller album that was the #1 selling album for over 35 years. 3 albums after he left the Jackson 5 flopped. You can Google it. He was with the Jackson 5. They had a dispute with Epic, and they changed their name to the Jacksons. He decided to go solo. He had 3 albums that flopped. 3. And then he teamed up with Quincy Jones. And the rest is history. We have to team up with the right person. None of us are enough by themselves. Like my dreams in my life are so big, Brian, there's no way I can accomplish them by myself. It's no way.
That's real.
And if I could, then my dreams are really small. And so the first step is for the person, the mentee, to realize somebody can help me. Someone knows more than I know. I need to lean. The second part is for the mentor, the person that's going to mentor them. We have to make ourselves readily available and do the hard part. It's not easy showing up and the young man may not show up. It's not easy saying, I want to teach you how to fish. The young man doesn't want to fish. It's not easy saying, I want to teach you how to tie a tie. And the young man doesn't have anywhere to wear a tie. And so we have to get outside our comfort zone and go reach out to someone else. Reach one, teach one. And so that's our job. People my age in their 40s or mid to late 30s or even younger, to go find a young man and pull them out. And the last part is the people in charge. The pastors, the teachers, the administrators, the athletic directors, they need to hire mentors. And so when it comes to hiring these coaches in these schools or in these communities for these rec leagues, we just don't need to look for someone that's going to win games. We need to look for good role models. Do you want your players cussing and smoking Black and Miles and hollering at all the women in the rec league? If you don't hire the coach that's going to do that. So you need to hire what you want emulated. They're going to replicate the model of the coach. And so more is caught than taught. They're going to follow what they see. Right. So what happens, I had a woman come to me, actually 4 different people, but it started with this one guy's mom. They were upset with their coach. And they said his language is pitiful. He threatens the boys. He tries to fight them he threatens like he's gonna fight them, and he's just a bad role model. I said, y'all hire the guy. You can't hire. This is who he is. He a grown man. Brian, you can't order a cheeseburger and be mad it got cheese on it.
That's right.
That's your fault.
That's right.
So the problem is the people who are doing the hiring are lazy and they're not going out to find good role models. Go watch your social media. Call the last people that they work with. Find out what type of person we're dealing with here. Go golfing with them. Go hang out with them. Go out. Don't just do the interview. Anybody can be good in the interview. Spend some time with them and put them in an adverse situation so we can find out how they respond to adversity, because they're going to be around our children. And children are the most important resource we have. And so I just think it's important. The mentee got to realize they need help. Yep. The mentor got to say, I'm going to be uncomfortable and go get someone that maybe look different than me, that looks the same as me. I'm going to go in the hood. See, Brian, I moved out of the hood. I grew up in the trailer park, Brian. I don't live in the trailer park. I live on Panama City Beach.
Right.
My life is different than it was. So I have to get outside my comfort zone and go back to the hood where I grew up.
But at least you went back, though.
Second?
At least you went back, though.
Oh, no, 100%. That's what I'm saying. That's the uncomfortable part. See, once you get comfortable and your car has air conditioning and you're riding on leather seats, and like, it's hard to go back. But for me, I know I'm one decision from being back anyway. And so it's nothing for me to go back. So I think it's 3 parts, and we all got to do our part.
But the way you talked about that, I love that breakdown. You talk about the mentee has to be the one to say, hey, you know what? I need mentorship. I need someone who can help me get to that next level. They might not always see it, right? And that's why it also takes that level of uncomfortability for that mentor to reach out and say, hey, I'm going to help you. I want to be here for you. Let me offer whatever the case may be and be there as an individual who can be there. But as you mentioned, I really do believe a lot of the issues that we're seeing right now comes from, especially when it comes like into schools or into different programmings that we're seeing, it's top down. How the leaders are as you said, it's going to be an emulation of how people are going to be. It doesn't matter what people say. I've worked in different positions. I've been in different places. When the leader is a certain way, people take mark on what the leader does, and they speak that language. They have that culture. The leader is the one who sets the culture of the place. And so I think it's very key as what you're talking about as to how we're being able to make sure that from the top down, we're saying the same thing, and we're showing the same thing to all the young people that are here, because ultimately they're following our example. That's why, like, for instance, one of the programs that I do with empathetic training, it's all about modeling. What do we show to other people? Because we have to model the behaviors that we want them to be. I can't expect respect out of a child and I don't show them that respect that they're supposed to do. I have to be able to be the one that models that, right? So I think what you're talking about is very key. And it kind of brings me to the next point for this interview, because I really want us to start thinking, especially for people who are listening to this and saying, man, you know, Willie, I want to be a mentor. I want to help, but it's hard connecting with the youth of today. It's different, right? The youth have a lot of challenges. There's a lot more that's distracting them. There's a lot of issues that are coming around. So when it comes to your position, what do you think is needed for us to have more of a positive impact on the youth in our direct care? And more so, like, how do we reach a generation that's so connected? I'm putting that in air quotes because they have so many means of connection, yet they're so disconnected with relationships of people throughout the world.
Well, I'm like I told you, Brian, I'm an old man. So when I was a little boy, if you were going to talk on the phone, there was a cord connected from the house phone all the way to the phone. So if you wanted privacy, you had to get a long cord, and you say, I'll take this in the other room. And you walk all the way through the house. The cord is going all the way through the house, and you go find a room to have a little bit of privacy. That was the only way to do it, right? If you had 2 phones, someone still could be listening on the other end of your call. Right? So now we have these cell phones with no cord, but we're more tied down than we ever been before.
Mercy.
So the cord is detached, but we're still tied down. A young person, for me, Brian, a cell phone is a tool. I use it for a tool. So I can go an hour without it.
That's right.
I can go 2 hours without it. I drove, I had to drive the other day. I was in Arkansas and I drove to Dallas. It was like 2.5 hours. I didn't have to be on my phone the whole trip. A young person couldn't go that long without being on their phone. It's like a piece of their body because they grew up with it. So a cell phone to the young generation, we're talking about the millennials, Gen X, Gen Z, those generations, the cell phone is like a thumb. And that's why you see all these viral videos of teachers and students getting in fights when a teacher asks for their cell phone. Because to the teacher, I'm just asking, could you let me hold your tool to the end of class? The translation for the student is, she wants to remove my thumb for the whole class period. She wants to take off my arm. She wants to cut my arm off at the elbow. And so I will fight her before I allow her to take my arm off. And so we have to understand that they, the young folks, they think totally different than we do. It's not right or wrong. It's just different. But you said the key word, relationships. The only way we can help the other generation, the younger generation, is to build relationships with them. And part of that is being uncomfortable. We have to actually sit down, humble ourselves to know that we don't know everything. One thing about this young generation that I love, they don't judge.
They don't, not as much. Nowhere as close, yeah.
You have pink hair. They say, girl, I like your hair. You have earrings, nose piercings. Girl, look at you. I like that. They don't judge. You can be gay, you can be straight. They don't judge. My generation, we judge everything. We want to know who you're voting for. We want to know where you go to church. We want to know what's your denomination. We want, like, if we see something that doesn't jive with us, that's not just like us, we have a judgment for it. We have to actually tell ourselves, don't judge, don't judge. So we can learn from the younger generation to not judge. What they can learn from us is what truth is and what work ethic is. They don't want to work a job for more than 2 years. They don't want to work hard at all. They want a quick fix. And the generation, all they want is money. So when you were in school, and I would go talk to someone maybe 15, 20 years ago, I would say, who knows what they want to be when they grow up? All the kids will raise their hand. And it'll be different, everything from doctor to lawyer to I want to be an MBA, I want to be a rapper, I want to be a dancer, I want to be an engineer. It'll be all these different jobs. What happens now is they just want to make money.
Make money,
They don't care what the job is. Whatever I have to do to get the bag. And so now I'm not saying it's good or bad.
That's dangerous.
It's very dangerous because you'll do anything to get it. But I'm not saying it's good or bad that they think that way now. What we have to do is sit down and listen to them and let them talk. Just sit there and listen. And then share our experiences with them. Share our downfall. I tell young people all the time when I speak in high schools, I say, take your age, multiply it times 3. That's my age.
That's right.
Now, I'm not super smart, but who do you think knows more about life? Me or you? And they say, well, you do, because you live longer. Right. So wouldn't it be wise for you to listen to what I have to say? So all I'm asking today during this assembly is that you listen. That's all. And so they can respect that. Instead of me coming in and saying, I'm the authority, I'm the speaker, sit your butt down, you listen to me, I'm Willie Spears. That doesn't move them. That doesn't impress them. No. I got a college degree, and so what? That doesn't impress them at all because their hero did not go to college, and their hero makes $1 million a year.
That's right.
And so
we watch them all the time.
100%. Yeah. So the world is just different, and we have to respect them enough to learn about the world. I give you an example, Ryan. I'm in Ohio speaking, and a lady asked a question. No, a student, middle school student. Are you famous? And I say, no, young lady, I'm not famous. Sorry to disappoint you. Then a teacher holds up her phone. He's lying. This is a teacher now. He's lying. He has 126,000 followers on Instagram. He is famous. He got a blue check. He is famous. I said, ma'am, that doesn't mean I'm not famous. So then this other girl says, well, if you're famous, do you know Sexy Red? So, Brian, I had never heard of Sexy Red. It's just not my lane. I don't. It's not my world. I'm not against. I never heard the name to that day. But when I left that event, I went in my car, sitting in my rental car. The first thing I did, I Googled Sexy Red. I learned about Sexy Red. Then the next week, I was in Oklahoma. And when I spoke to that audience, I said, the principal wanted me to talk about work ethic. And I said, your favorite artist does not go in the studio for 3 minutes. They're in there all night. That song that you love, that's probably the 100th edition of that song. They recorded it. Then they did it again. They said, no, go back and redo the vocals, go back and redo the ad libs, go back and redo the doubles, go back. So we're getting the result of hard work. I said, y'all think Sexy Red go in the studio for 5 minutes? No, she's in there all night. Y'all think Nicki Minaj go in the studio for 5 minutes? Y'all think Cardi B? And so when I said those names, they leaned in. Oh, what? This guy's relevant. So I could have been the adult in the room to get off my lawn. I'm not going to listen to that crap and mention that. I don't agree with Sexy Red's lyrics, but what I do know is that Sexy Red resonates with this audience.
That's right.
And if I want to connect with them, I have to learn their world. I don't have to become their world, but I have to learn their world. And so to answer your question, the way that we reach the young people is build relationships and be humble enough to learn their world. And that's how we can connect with them.
You're speaking complete, absolute facts right now as you're going through this, and it resonates with me because I do the same, right? When I go into a classroom or when I do presentations or I try to, if I'm in assemblies or such, I try to make sure I'm speaking their language, right? Even this podcast was almost called "Speak Their Language,"
right.
But who knows? Maybe we'll switch it up. But at the end of the day, what you said is what I talk about, especially when I go to like different PDs or I speak to different teachers. But I hear so many individuals who say, well, Brian, yeah, building relationships is cool, but these kids, they're not on the same. But I can tell once I get that answer, I already know you didn't try hard enough in building that relationship. I can already tell as soon as that kid is going through a situation, you probably just sent them to the office or you didn't sit down and talk to them. You didn't go that extra mile just a little bit for that child. And so I truly believe what you're talking about when it comes to building those relationships, because those relationships are what I even made it really simple. The relationships equals prevention. All the issues that were going on in the classroom, I was that's the prevention. Like that we talk about that. I remember one time, sorry if I'm going through all this, but I remember one time I had this conversation with a kid, and we still reach out to this day. That happened in 2016, and he was about to get into a little bit of a tussle, and I decided to like really talk to him on his level, right? So I talked through this whole concept of a regulation, relation, and then reasoning, right? Ultimately, about having that relation with him, just letting him know, man, I used to be mad. I used to be, I had a hot temper. I was like, but I didn't want anybody to control me anymore. I was like, you think fighting and you beating them up is you actually control? No, you're controlled. And he was like, what you mean by that, blah? And then so I started talking to him, man. And I took him to the gym for me with just twice. Just twice. Took him to the gym with me. That was like the first 2 weeks of school. I brought him to the gym after school was done and worked out. That sustained us for the next 2 years. And that's the thing, like, yeah.
They don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
That's it, man.
You showed you cared about him by bringing him into your world. That's all he needed. That's the gateway to get to the heart.
That's it. I love that, man. And so that's why I push that so much. And I think as you're talking about this, it is so key, because as much as people want to say anything about the work that they do, like you said, they don't care unless they know how much you care.
Right.
And so go ahead, please.
No, you go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna move to a different question. So if you have something you want to talk about with this one,
you talked about how the person sends a person to the office when they can't handle them. It's the first thing they do.
Yeah,
like they haven't built a relationship. Look at the statistics. So if you take standardized tests, right? Mm-hmm. Asian students do the best. I would argue because they have a better foundation at home than most white or black students.
Let's be real. Let's just be real with that.
The culture's different. The excellence is the standard, blah, blah, blah. Well, you take most American students, white and black. Of us, and when I say American, I'm not saying the Asian child wasn't born in America, but I'm saying their background, their heritage. So the white and black student, white girls do better on standardized tests than any other group. The reason I believe is because most of our teachers are white female teachers.
That's right.
It's easy to relate to someone who's just like you. The group that does the worst on standardized tests and truancy and behavior is African-American male
boys. Yep.
Right? Because there are not very many African-American male teachers in the school. So, you know this, if you see, like, we're just different. I said in one documentary, it's harder to teach us because the rules of the classroom are middle class rules. It's built around a formal register. It's not our world. So I can tell you this. Somebody's watching this right now saying, why is he so loud? Somebody's watching this podcast right now saying, why does he talk so loud? Why is he screaming? We're naturally louder. That's a fact.
That's real.
Black people are naturally loud. We're more aggressive. We're more, I don't want to say demonstrative, but we have way more energy and passion. That's just the truth. Elvis Presley started dancing like a black man. He became a hero. That's just the truth. George Strait's a great musician. He stands on the stage and sits in one spot. Don't even move, right? Adele, don't even move. They're different than us, right? So in a classroom, if you have a lot of energy, that's a bad thing. If you're loud, that's a bad thing. If you're playful, that's a bad thing. All these rules are set up against us. So you know how it is, Brian. We can go in the hallway and slap box. Say something out. Say something out. We out there. And the teacher think we're about to fight.
About to fight.
Right. We wasn't fighting. That's just how we play. And so it's stacked against us before we get started. But if you're in that hallway and you see them two jokers playing around, you recognize that because that was you a few years ago.
That was that. Exactly.
No, stop, man. Go to class, man. Go to class. Or even if they tie up, you don't got to write them up. You just go over there and separate them. Say, hey, man, hey, calm down. I don't want to have to write y'all up.
Chill out. Yeah.
And it's over. Or you can sense it happening before it happens. You can tell, they about to bump. It's about to happen. And so you can prevent it before it happens and you keep them from getting a 10-day suspension. Now, I've been in court where young men were sentenced to jail because of their middle school and high school discipline record.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
That's crazy.
That's freaking nuts.
But what these teachers don't know how to handle it. Because I'm going to be honest, we're more aggressive. We just are. And a little old white lady, I can see her being afraid of these two big 8th graders. I get it. So hire more black male teachers. So here's the other side of that. We got to become certified.
And that's the thing. That's the other thing. We need more people who want to be a part of the educational system.
Right. So I had this argument. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No. Oh yeah. Go ahead.
I had this argument with a principal once. White guy, Brian Bullock. No, his son is Brian. Mr. Bullock, Joe Bullock. He was a principal, and I was young. You know, you think I'm passionate now. I was 23. I knew everything. And so I'm in his office. We need more black male teachers, and that's the problem. And blah, 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 blah. He said, I tell you what, Willie. Now I'm screaming at him. I'm not even a certified teacher yet. He said, I tell you what, you find me an African-American male that's certified, and I promise you I will interview him. I said, that's all you had to say, Mr. Bullock. That's all you had to say. I left there. I said, I'm finna have this school packed with black men. It's going to be awesome. Brian, I couldn't find one African-American male certified teacher. So it's not the system's fault. It's not the devil's fault. If we want to change our community, we need to do whatever it takes to be a part of it. And so I didn't mean to go there. You can ask the next question.
No, that's man, to me, that brings a big point because that to me is crucial to how we're the whole conversation we're talking about is building relationships, being a part of the community, being mentors and individuals who are going to care about our youth. But how many of us, I used to pastor for a little bit, and I remember, I asked myself, what is it that I really want to do in this world? And when I came to that conclusion, the conclusion was I want to empower young people with everything that I have. My story, basically, young people saved my life. That's a whole something to really get into. But at the end of the day, I said, man, I want to pour in my energy, my time to being able to build and uplift the younger generations. But as you said, one of the things that came to my mind was, where are they the most? They're not even at home the most. They're in schools.
100%, man.
And so why is it that if we really want to start changing our communities and making a major impact in our communities, then we need to be in the place that they're going to be the most at. And I think we need, like you said, we need a lot more black men a lot more black people in general in our school system. You go to certain hoods, you go to certain communities, and it's still 90% of the teachers are still white.
Yeah.
And I have no problem with white teachers, but what I'm saying is, if we want to be a big part of the change, to seeing a better life and lifestyle and mindset and shift in our youth, that we have to put our dollars, our time where we think is most important as well. So I think you bring up a really solid point that is overlooked, and we would rather talk about the problems that we're seeing in our school systems, that our youth are not necessarily understood, without saying, I'm going to step up and also be a part of the solution.
Yep, I agree, man. When I was in my early 20s at a crossroad, I was playing arena football, and in my mind, I was going to play in the NFL. A few of my teammates had got NFL tryouts, and I thought I was as good as they were. I had an agent, and so that was my mindset. I'm going to eat right, live right, work my butt off. I'm going to get a shot at the NFL. And I was nowhere near good enough to play in the NFL, but that was my thinking. And then I was going to go into entertainment. I had a lot of offers. I had applied for a job at MTV and BET, K104 in Dallas back in the day, and then 93 BLX in Mobile, Alabama. And I was going to be a DJ in urban radio. So this was going to be my dream. And then I got a job on Disney Cruise Line. So through those, pursuing those jobs that I didn't get, I ended up, a lady, she knew someone that worked for Disney Cruise Line and entertainment department, and they hired me to be a DJ for Disney Cruise Line. So I DJ and I played arena football for 2 years. I did both of those. When that was going on, my coach called me and asked me, would I be a coach at the high school? Man, I couldn't stand teachers. I don't want to use the word hate, but I didn't like teachers. I didn't want to be a teacher. I was like, this is lame. Who wants to be a teacher? And so, but I really respected my coach, and the fact that he thought that much of me to call me meant so much to me. So I said, I'll do it for a little bit while I train for the NFL. In that first year, I saw where I was able to really impact people. It was instant. It wasn't like I think, like when I was preaching back then. It wasn't, I preached a sermon and maybe it stuck. You know, the Bible says some seed fell on good ground, some fell on stony ground, some was choked out. Like with coaching, it was instant. I made a difference in this kid's life. I knew it, and they clung to me. And my personality drew them in, and it was like a drug to me. I instantly loved the fact that they wanted me to be around them, and I wanted to be around them as well. And so that right there, I said, I'm not going into entertainment. I'm not chasing this football dream anymore. I'm going to be a coach. I'm going to be a teacher. And I dedicated my life to that. And then my first year, I'm trying to get emotional, 2 of my players got arrested. 2 of my players got arrested. One of them served 8 years of a 13-year sentence. One of them ended up getting out in a few months. I still talk to these 2 guys today, but I signed them up for the ACT. I did that, B. I taught them how to run a go route, how to run an out route, how to run a post route. They both were all state. We were 5A, big school in Florida. They both were 5A, but when they got arrested, they wanted to pray. So when I go to the county jail to visit them, now they want to pray. And I didn't visit Zedric in the jail. I visited Zach, but I ended up connecting with Zedric. But now everybody want to pray. So I thought to myself, why didn't I pray with them on the front end? Why did I wait till they get in trouble? They got in trouble. Now I want to pray with them. So I said, you know what? From now on, I'm nowhere near perfect, but I'm going to make sure the God that I grew up serving, I'm going to share that with all my players. I'm not going to push it on them. I'm not going to threaten them with it. And in the classroom, I'm not going to mention it. I'm going to mention it when it's only appropriate, like Fellowship of Christian Athletes events or maybe after practice. But I'm not going to force it. But they're going to know that Jesus is my reason for doing this, and he's who I go to. And so that became the way I carried myself. I had to change a little bit because I was hip, young, thought I was cool, the music, everything. And so I say that to say that some of us adults need to make a decision to grow up.
That's real.
Stop trying to be 15.
That's real.
You dress like you're 15. You talk like you're 15. You make decisions like you're 15. Like children make decisions based off emotions. Adults make decisions based off logic. So if I'm a child and you step on my J's, I throw my hands up and we about to bump. If I'm mature, I say, hey, bro, watch your step, man. Man, I'll knock you out. Man, please don't knock me out, man. Please, I'm sorry, bro. We good, man. I want no smoke. So when I know I can whoop your behind, I don't got to advertise it.
That's real.
I just got to be ready if you come toward me. That's the confidence I have. I'm a grown man. I don't do fear. I just die and go to heaven. I'm good. So I don't have to prove to you that I'm tough. There's nothing in me to have to prove to you that I'm tough. I'll let you be tough. You're the tough guy. I'm the wuss. Now, if you come at me, we're going to really find out who's tough. You know, you touch my children, then everybody's going to find out which one of us is really tough. We're going to find out. I'm not going to initiate it because I'm grown. My frontal lobe is fully developed. I don't make decisions based off emotions. The girl got a big booty, so I go run after her. No, that's what children do. You know, or the dude left his wallet. He not even looking. I'm going to take his wallet. No, that's what children do. That's immature people make decisions based off how they feel. I'm angry, I'm going to punch the wall. I'm sad, I'm going to get high. I'm going to get drunk. I'm horny, I'm going to go chase something. No, that's what children do. Grown-ups don't hold grudges. Grown-ups make decisions based on their future self. Grown-ups use the middle part of the brain, the lymphatic system, to make decisions. And that's what a lot of us just need to grow up. I mean, you got 50-year-old rappers out here acting like they 12. Yep. You know, like nothing wrong with
rapping. They're the models for these kids.
Right. If you want to rap. But be real. Tell the kids the truth. Your kids go to private school. Y'all eat together at dinner. Like, tell the whole truth. Tell the whole story. So it's sad, but I think this conversation kind of gets it going. And I haven't arrived. I haven't figured it all out. But I do know that the decisions I made today determine my tomorrow because I'm modeling whether I want to or not because someone's always watching.
I love what you're saying ultimately because it really does speak to what is needed more so in our society. The whole concept of us growing up, we're seeing a lot more adults who are just being more childlike than before, and I think that the more you have children having children, you still continue to have children and more children and raising children. And so we get less and less adults and more mature or less mature individuals. And so I think it's very key what you're saying with that. And we need to get to that place where we can truly mature in who we're supposed to be. In that being said, I think it's very also it's imperative that as we're leading, we're showing, like you talked about, the modeling of how things were supposed to be and how we want things to be shown in our society. You've been an administrator for how many years were you administrator actually?
Probably 13. And so there's two ways. Wow. I just give you the skin to break it down for you. So I was an administrator like a year and a half ago at an alternative school in Panama City called New Horizon. So I was an administrator, like a dean of students, but it was under administrative tab. And my job was discipline for the school. And I did that for a few months before they tried to make me choose between speaking and the school. And so I walked away from the school. But then I was an assistant principal at Valiant Cross School, Valiant Cross Academy in Montgomery, Alabama. And then many of my jobs as athletic director and head football coach were under administrative guidelines and expectations. Okay. I had administrative duties and I was paid, thank goodness, as an administrator for those jobs. So in total, about 13 years.
So what I'm going to ask you is going to be around that aspect because a lot of people, like I speak to a lot of teachers, I speak to a lot of even students, sometimes who come in and express what's going on in the space of education right now. One of the things that has been high on the list of complaints is the administrative powers or lack of support, lack of connections that a lot of teachers especially are feeling from administration. We understand how powerful leadership truly is. So when it comes to your position and your point of view, what was your approach that made sure that whoever you were serving, because leadership is truly a service, you were able to impact them in a way that got them to the level and the value that they truly saw within themselves?
I believe everything rises and falls on leadership, as you just said. So that's one part. Everything rises and falls on leadership. I think the number one problem is a disconnect in expectations. So what's happening is all the teachers that are complaining, they have different expectations than the person that hired them. And that's where the disconnect is. If I tell you up front, this is how you will be evaluated and this is what we expect from you, then we're on the same page. A lot of teachers believe that their job is just to teach. In the perfect world, that would be your job. But we don't live in a perfect world. We're with the children more than our own parents. So we have to deal with all the good and the bad. So that means that you have to work more hours than you're being paid for. Teachers don't like to hear that. Teachers think they have a regular job where you clock in at 7:30, you clock out at 3 o'clock in your job. No, you're going to get an email at 4:30 and that administrator expects you to read that email. And you can make the argument that this is my own time. I don't have to read the email. Unfortunately, you chose the teaching profession. It just doesn't work that way. If you're going to be an effective teacher, you have to do extra. That's why I call teachers superheroes, because doing extra is their norm. Now, again, a lot of teachers are not going to like this, but a lot of teachers expect to be able to get the job done by just working the hours that you're paid. Well, you need to go work at a bank. That's what they do at a bank. But if you're going to be a nurse, you're going to be on call some nights. You're going to work you're going to work 24-hour shifts. You're going to work 4 12s in a row. Like it's so in this profession, teachers don't get paid what they should. No question.
No, they don't.
One of my biases, I was on a PLC team, professional learning communities as an administrator. And one of my biases was that I wanted to hire coaches. I didn't know this was a bias. It was pointed out to me. And I'm not saying the bias was right, but we all have biases. But this is why I wanted to hire coaches. Coaches do extra don't get paid extra. I think good teachers need to know I'm going to take work home and I'm not going to get paid any more money. I need to read through this paragraph again to see what issue this young man is having. This kid can't see the board. Maybe they need contacts. Maybe they need glasses. Well, that's not really my job, but it really is my job. Like my daughter's type 1 diabetic. My son has Crohn's disease. If you see my son bent over at the desk, you could say, I'm not a doctor. I'm a math teacher. That ain't my business. Or you could say, he's looked like his stomach is hurting. I need to see what's wrong with him. Like teaching is not a normal profession. And so to answer your question, I used to try to hire the right folks so we don't have those issues. And so I give you an analogy to help you understand my point. My daughter has a pair of black and yellow Jordan 1s, low tops. They are awesome. I love them. My high school was black and gold. These are black and gold. They're really nice. And I had an outfit one day that these shoes would be perfect with. The problem is my daughter wears a 6 and I wear an 11.5.
Mercy.
So just because something looks good and it looks like it goes with us doesn't mean it's the right fit.
That's right. Yeah.
So what happens a lot of time, administrators hire people who have a good looking resume and they look like they will go with us, but they're not the right fit. And so this is how I hire. The first thing I do is I give examples of what's going to happen at this school. And I ask them, how will they handle this example? And then I look at 4 C's. The first C is competent. Do they know their stuff? We're looking for a math teacher. Do you know math? We're looking for an English teacher. Do you know English? The second C is chemistry. Will they get along with the people in the department on their hallway? Well, I mean, they may be smart, they may be great, but they may not get along with everybody, and that's going to be a headache for everyone. The next C is calling. Do they realize that they're called to be an educator? It's not a spiritual thing, but it could be for some. But they need to understand children will let you down. Children are mean. Children and their mama gonna cuss you out. You're signing up. But if it's a calling, you don't get upset when you don't get what you deserve. You don't get upset when you get mistreated because you realize it's a calling. You don't get upset when you get an email on Sunday morning and you're thinking, why are they emailing me? I'm off. Well, if it's a calling, then you realize that's part of it. And then the last C is character. We want someone with high character. Someone that's not going to embarrass us. Like you can go to Applebee's and get a drink after work if you want to, because you're a grown-up. But you can't do it with our polo shirt on. You don't need to have on Central High School polo shirt and you're at the bar and throwing back Coronas. Like you need to have high character in that situation and bring another shirt in the car and put on somebody else's shirt. Put on a Dallas Cowboy jersey or something. So those 4 C's help us get the right people in the building. And then if you don't fit our culture and our climate, it's going to be uncomfortable and you're going to want to leave because doing extra is the norm.
I hear what you're saying. And I think it's very astute. You know, when we're looking at this whole concept of education, I like the way that you approach it with the understanding that sometimes you're gonna have to go above and beyond. So, for instance, in pastoring, Yeah, you get paid for 40 hours during the week, but I never worked a 40 hour in my life. You know, it was always 50 to 70.
Yep.
So, and just depending on what's going on, you get calls, you get people. When I was in school, man, these kids, you could talk to any of my students who I used to work with when I was in, they knew Mr. St. Louis was there, especially when I was an administrator. I was there in the beginning, early, because when I was a teacher, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't always show up right on time, man. So I'm not gonna
Confessions,
lie, but
baby. Cue
I
Usher.
know, but
We got a confession on this thing.
but once I became the administrator, I knew that you have to, again, the modeling aspect. I was like, okay, I'm here to show what needs to be done. And man, I used to wake up early in the morning just to make sure I got there 30 minutes before anybody else did. I used to just sit there and read.
And it
Sit there
speaks
and read.
volumes, man. And
Yeah,
people
man.
give you the benefit of the doubt when you do
That's it.
extra. But you got to know
That's
this
it.
too, Ms. St. Louis, that everyone's not built like that. That's what I had to learn. Everyone's not built like me. Like some people value sleep. I don't. I don't
That's a
value
fact.
sleep.
Yeah.
Some people do. So I can't knock them for valuing sleep. I just know they're not going to be an administrator. Like they're going to always
So
be
how do you help them though? How do you get them to that place?
I
Because
ask them what their goals are. And then I ask them who have accomplished those goals. Who do you know? All right. Now, what do they do to like in coaching? That's my background. I had a coach. You know, he looked up to Mike Tomlin, who's the head coach for the Steelers, and he looked up to Nick Saban, head coach for Alabama. And I asked them, I said, "You think they go on vacations? You think they go to Turks and Caicos? You think that's what they do is this much? Most of what they do is work, 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 work. Like everyone wants to be on top of the mountain, but nobody wants to climb. That's part of it. Like I have failed more than anyone I know. Why? Because I've tried more.
Because you've tried more, yeah.
Right. So people don't want to fail. They want everything to work out. And so I'm telling you, man, I'm not saying that teachers should work more hours. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying if you're a teacher, you signed up for an unfair job. You need to know that going in.
That's real. Man, Willie, I really appreciate everything that you've talked about throughout this whole podcast episode. Just the connection, the depths of wisdom that you have when it comes to working with youth, working with teachers, working with the community. You know, as a speaker, you've been putting in so much work and so much effort, but it's not just work without the positive impact, because we see it. I see, at least from my perspective, you know, watching the things that you're doing, listening to you right now, I can tell the people who you're around you are impacting their lives, man. And it's an honor to be able to sit down and listen and take in a lot of the information that you really brought in. Because, for instance, the 4 C's that you look at for administrators, I hope that if there's an administrator listening to this, they took in that information. They're able to really understand how to build a culture. Because when it comes to culture and how the schools are, you're setting the space, you're setting the pace, and more of our administrators and leaders need to understand that at the end of the day, you know, we follow what you do. And if you're doing certain things and you're pushing us in a certain direction, that's where people are going to lead. And so I got 2 more questions for you, but the last question I really want to focus on, with all the wisdom that you have, with all the experience that you've been able to accumulate in all these years, if you had to speak to your younger self, or if you had to speak to a youth, like right now, I don't know exactly what that person may be going through, but especially, let's just focus on your younger self. I like the younger self aspect. What would you say to your younger self after all these years of accumulated wisdom and all the work that you've been able to have and experience? What would be the one thing that you would make sure to say to yourself?
I would say fail more. I would tell my younger self,
that's it, man.
Yeah, you're not failing enough.
That's it.
And my younger self would be like, what are you talking about?
That's it.
You know, fail more. Try out for the team you don't think you're going to make. You know, I can't play an instrument right now, and it's because I never tried. If I would have failed more at that, I could play an instrument right now. And that's one of my regrets. I wish I could play an instrument. I would love when I speak at an FCA event to be able to join the band and get on guitar real quick, or be able to get on the drums real quick. And I would love that. And so I would tell myself to fail more. Then I would also tell myself it's going to work out, because I was nowhere near the perfect kid, but I didn't get involved with drugs and alcohol. I respected I was a knucklehead as far as a discipline, but I didn't disrespect teachers. I didn't cuss teachers out and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I tried to keep my nose clean, mostly because I was afraid of my dad. But sometimes when the Bible says that don't neglect doing well, that it's going to work out in the end. So sometimes I thought to myself, I'm doing all the right stuff, and I'm not getting the results. Like my teammates getting high every day, and they're way better than me. They're faster than me. They're stronger than me. They have more endurance, and they smoking weed every day. Again, I'm not judging them. That's their choice. But I need to smoke too. Then this doing the right way not working. Even in college. I was nowhere near perfect, but there were certain things I just wouldn't do. But I wasn't the best player on our team. And even after college, I remember I was coaching. I got fired in 2014. They said I was recruiting players. Now we didn't recruit anybody. And all these other coaches are doing things they have no business doing. And again, I'm not perfect, but I'm not breaking rules.
Right.
Not even close, not even a gray area. And I lose my job, and I'm thinking to myself, like, Lord, I turned down 2 college jobs to stay at this raggedy high school job because of what I believe you told me in my quiet time, and because I gave these people my word, and this how you repay me? And now, Brian, I'm looking back thinking to myself, why in the world did I doubt the process? I'm looking back now saying, wow. But if God would have showed me this, then I wouldn't need any faith.
That's right.
If God would have showed me like my life now, I wouldn't need any faith. And so I will go back and tell my younger self, hey man, it's going to work out. And this, even the wrong thing that you are doing, you're not even going to get the punishment that you deserve.
Mercy.
God is going to show you so much grace and mercy because of your heart. And so I would tell my younger self to fail more and to hang in there. It's going to work out. It's going to work out. And so I've been blessed, man, to be in a good space right now, and I'm truly grateful.
I love that. Typically, we start each episode. I forgot to do this, but we start each episode with youth are, and you have to finish the statement. So tell me, youth are what?
The answer.
Hey, I like that.
We had a bunch of them, man. One of them was.
No, we really did. We
had a bunch of them.
We really did, though.
But I love everything rises and falls on leadership. That's one of my favorite ones.
Yeah,
but
let's use that
one of the ones I use at practice all the time was, we find out who you really are by the way you respond to adversity.
I love that.
So for teachers, it's easy to be teacher of the year when everything's going well. But what about when you face adversity? When you get squeezed, we find out what's on the inside of you.
That's real.
And so adversity reveals who we really are. And so hopefully one of those quotes can help somebody.
That's good, man. That's good. But man, Willie, thank you so much. I can't express enough how much I truly enjoyed this episode. You're an impact engineer. And I really do believe that as you continue to do the work that you're doing, more and more lives are going to continuously be positively changed through the work that you're doing, through your speaking, through your programs, through your books, over 17 books. Man, you're an inspiration, again, to me. And I know you're an inspiration to many. I thank you so much for the work that you're doing. And I thank you for this podcast episode as well, that people were able to be blessed and really take in what you're talking about in order for them to be the youth that they can be, to grow, and also the adults in the lives of those youth to make sure that they can establish those connections and be the supportive adult that these youth need in society. So thank you so much, Willie. I appreciate you coming on to the BSL Speaks podcast.
Thank you for having me, man. It's an honor. We're on the same team. I tell you people all the time, man, if God can use me, he can use anyone. He's no respecter person. And so if we make ourselves available, flaws and all, he can use us to impact the world. And I'm going to tell you, I'm still in that impact engineer. I love that title. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem, man. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Be blessed.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode of BSL Speaks podcast. Your dedication to this journey is greatly appreciated, and I invite you to continue this journey with us on your favorite podcast platform. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and many other podcast sites. Simply search for BSL Speaks to subscribe and stay updated on all our latest episodes, resources, and programs. Your support means the world to us, and we're excited to have you join our community. Stay inspired, stay empowered, and keep engineering impact in all that you do. Until next time.